Ezekiel 28th chapter. Tyrus equals America. Merchant islands, great business, slavery, playing God, and the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, again, Ezekiel 28th chapter. So with that, I would like to say, Kal Halal, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rahwa Kodash, Tawada Yahweh for giving us Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who have the 100% spirit of Yahweh Bashimashai in them. Double honors to the CT elders of GMS, our big brothers. Greetings and salutations to the brothers in this country and all over the world who are prophesying in the true name of Yahweh Bashimashai, which is none other than the power of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody who are descendants from those people on their father's side. Shalom to those who are scattered abroad. Shalom to the occupant Aquith. I am Yaiquab, Lord willing, serving the King of the universe. All right, and yeah, just gonna go over Ezekiel 20th chapter, which is a heavy chapter, of course, dealing with prophecy, and overall dealing with proving through the scriptures, the Spirit of our Lord, that Tyrus is America. Okay, and Tyrus basically is synonymous with the so-called white man in the nation of Edom, right? Because Tyrus was more than a merchant city. It was like a merchant island, you know, a great marketplace, and it's one of the oldest cities or oldest islands off the coast of which is today Lebanon, the coast of Israel. It's one of the oldest cities and one of the oldest merchant cities in the world history. You know, even so much so that Tyrus and the people of Tyrus, I believe the King Hiram, we're going to go over it, did business with King David and built a certain synagogue, something for King David, which we're about to read. And also they were in relations with King Solomon as well. We're going to read that. So anyway, I want to go into Tyrus, prove that it's talking America, because Tyrus' biggest commodity or form of business was slavery. Okay, and we all know America, right? By way of the international bankers, which was set up, America was set up by international bankers, that the elites, they got to where they are, which are none other than the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, who they are, the nation of Edom, the elite. They got to how they are financially, owning the whole world, Job 9:24, because of slavery, the transatlantic slave trade. And, you know, with that, you know, Ezekiel goes into that Esau thinks he's God. And I want to prove that through the fourth industrial revolution, which leads to the MOTB, but also going into something called quantum computing, which I'm gonna post in the description box. And I really highly suggest you watch that, Babakashah, please. It's from my other site that I don't use no more, and that really will let you know how Esau is trying to play God, because what he's trying to do, their ultimate disease in their eyes is aging. And with quantum computing, which is beats any supercomputer by far, they believe they can by probability in computing figure out disease so they can age and live longer, trying to play God. All right, so I'm gonna go right into it, okay, and read. Matter of fact, yeah, we're just gonna read Ezekiel, start from Ezekiel 28, and then I'm gonna read a little bit about Tyrus, an article I have here. Okay, so it says Ezekiel chapter 28 verse 1. It reads, "The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thus said the Lord of power, because thine heart is lifted up," which heart in the Hebrew means what? Lab. It says, "Because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am God. I sit in the seat of God, and in the midst of the seas, which the seas, the midst of the seas represent the people. Okay, so let me go back to my thing here. It represents the people. And that's how Esau acts, you know, by him again. How did he gain control of all the world? Job 9:24. The earth is given into his hands, right? I got the whole world in my hands. That old childhood lullaby song really goes back to Esau, man. Why? Because the Most High gave it to him, number one, but it also goes back to the blessings that Isaac gave Esau's bitch crying ass to him to have the fatness of the earth. How did he get the fatness of the earth? Fatness of the earth by none other than the blood, sweat, and tears of the nation of Israel. And guess what? Tyrus did the same thing too. They were big and they were trading thousands of people, 10,000, 12, hundreds of thousands of people over to the nation of Edom. Okay, which I believe I have a map here, which Tyrus, they had a river, I believe it's the River Jordan, that ran all the way down to the Gulf of, it ran down to the Sea Galilee, the Gulf of Galilee or Sea of Galilee, and all the way down to the Dead Sea, okay, which is right above the land, the kingdom of Edom, okay, and again, and who did they trade off there? The nation of Israel. You know, they handed over to the Edomites. Okay, so that's one of the major points to prove that Tyrus is America, because they were big in slave trade, and their biggest form of slave trade was Israelites. Just like today, America, they became what they are as a superpower, and really the elites, because of the slavery and the transatlantic slave trade upon the nation of Israel, which that was the first, I like to always describe, and I read too, that was the first international network, was the was slavery upon our people, starting way back in the 15th century, man. Really starting with the southern tribe, which is Gad and Reuben, shipping off to Spain in 1492 and after, you know, and again, that's how they got their riches, man. Again, so it says, right, and sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man and not a God, though thou set thine heart as a heart of God. It says, now let's go into Tyrus real quick. Again, verse 2, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus said the Lord power, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am God, I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man and not a power. Thou shalt set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret what they can't hide from thee. Now let's go into this, how they became wiser than Daniel. Well, let's first, do their fourth industrial revolution. That's how they became wiser than Daniel. All right, let's go to Tyrus history. I have here. All right, I just gotta pull it up real quick and read it. Slakia. Salakia, let me just put it up. All right, Tyrus, ancient city of Edom. Okay. Okay, here goes Satan. I saved the article and it's not coming up. Hold up. All right, here goes Satan, boy. I just saved the article. Hold on. It's a very good article I queued up that goes into it. Salakia, hold on with me. Okay, here it is. I got it. Matter of fact, I'll post this in the description as well. Okay, I'm just gonna read the first kind of top section. Okay, so let's read. I'm gonna read first. Okay, let me read this first before I read the King David part. This is Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges, right? So it says, Tyree, It says the great commercial city of the north, right? It was a great commercial city. It said next receives her doom from the prophet's lips. Tyre, as the most important of the Phoenician cities, right? Because it was right next to Phoenician. I believe Apostle always goes into, right? King Solomon's navy was a Phoenician army, which were the Hamites, okay? And that's where the city of Tyre was, okay? So again, Tyre, as the most important of the Phoenician cities, is taken as representing Phoenicia generally. For defensive purposes, Tyre was strongly fortified, but the Phoenicians were not an aggressive people. They were devoted to commerce, okay, you see? They weren't an aggressive people, they were devoted to commerce. And commerce is what? Money, right? So that's how you know when, you know, part of the title have business in there, because how did they get to how did the elites, the ruling class families get to where they're at now? Is because of it says, the scriptures say traffic breaks down to business, okay? And their greatest business, Tyre, just like America, right, was slavery, okay? You know, the transatlantic slave trade, you know, with the slaves picking cotton in islands and in the North Americas, you know, sending off tons of goods, cotton, silk, whatever have you, tobacco, all these things over to Europe, and then all the way, you know, all the way down to South Africa and those colonies by way of trading Israel. It was a whole global network, man, that all these other countries are getting rich, right? And Psalms 83rd chapter were conspired, right, to bring these people down that way, man. Okay, we're talking about billions of dollars were made even back then. Okay. So again, you know, like the scripture saying, Joel, for Muskin's gun and wine. Okay, it says for defensive purposes, Tyre was strongly fortified, but the Phoenicians were not an aggressive people. They were devoted to commerce. Tyre was a mart of nations. Mart of nations means like a market. Okay, it was a great mart. Let's see what mart means again. That means a retail store. Sorry, I'm getting hot. It says mart means it was like a retail store. Okay, an outlet. It says a reseller, a boutique. Okay, it is department store, a supermarket. All right, that's what a mart means. Okay, so it says a mart of nations. Okay, so it says, and that's in Isaiah 23:3. So let's go to that real quick, because it points out a precept. Salak. Salak. I got something stuck in here. Okay, let's go to Isaiah chapter 23, verse 3. Let's start from verse 1. It reads, "The burden of Tyre, howl ye ships of Tarshish," right? Again, because it was like a little island, a great port, right? Where great business was being done, right? We all know a port deals with, you know, ports and ships carrying loads of merchandise for trade and business, right? Just like today, your current seaports, right? "The burden of Tyre, howl ye ships of Tarshish, for it is laid waste, so that there is no house, no entering in. From the land of Chittim it is revealed to them. Be still, ye inhabitants of the isle," right? It was like an island. Thou whom the merchant of Zidon that passed over the sea have replenished. And Lord willing, the thumbnail would be a picture of Tyre, which is like an island off the coast of Phoenicia. It says, "And by great," into which is today Lebanon, I believe, And by great waters, the seed of Syar, the harvest of river, is her revenue. And she is smart of nation. Oh, excuse me. And she is a mart of nations. Okay. Remember, we looked up mart. It means supermarket, a great store. Let's get that again. Cash and carries, a boutique, a department store, hypermarket, superstore, a warehouse. So that's what that was, man. You see that word. Matter of fact, let's look up in the blue letter. Let's get a little more into that word. Let's go. Cause that was just you know what? We may get more out the blue letter. Cause technically, I never saw that word either. So let's look it up. It goes Mark. See what it comes up. Isaiah 23 verse 3. Right, and it says, by great water she's the seed of Syar, the harvest of the river. And I believe that was a Jordan River that went all the way down to the land of Edom. All right, through the Gulf of, I just forgot already. It went to the Dead Sea, but the Gulf of, I forgot, Galilee. Okay, let's go to the word mark. Isaiah 23. Oh, I'm sorry, I put in the wrong word. I'm sorry, Salak. Mart. And you get it, that's where the word super, well, let me just, all right. And the great waters, the seed of Syar, the harvest of the river is her revenue. Yeah, great seaport. And it was also, Tyrus was also known as a peninsula. And she is a mart of nations. That's what America is. Isn't America like a big market? It's does great business throughout all the world, like the scriptures, Revelation 18 says we're about to go to, you know, that they were, the nations were made rich through her delicacies. You know, America is nothing but a great business, you know. And what was the business? Slaves. That was their first international network business. Okay, so Sahar. Oh, okay. That's what that means. I'm learning on the spot. Okay, with you, Akim. All right, so look at that. Mart means Sahar, which is what? Let's see. Merchandise. Mart. Traffic. See? Wow. And Ezekiel goes into the word traffic, right? What traffic means? Business. Because like the apostles always bring out, when you have something called the term traffic jam, really goes back to business jam. Okay, because when you have traffic, people are getting late to work and can't you know, continue their business. It says traffic, gain, okay? Which traffic is really business, gain, profit, gain from the merchandise, traffic, gain from traffic, you see? And when you're at a seaport, when you're at a port, you know, or a mart like this, a supermarket, is what's going on? Great traffic. Everybody's in the store. Everybody's in the great supermarket doing business, right? It says mart, imperium, wealthy, wealth resulting from merchandise, okay? For you to do great business, you have to have merchandise. Now, what was the first merchandise, the great first merchandise of America? Well, you Israelites, man, sold on the auction blocks, okay? All right? We were the first great merchandise, man, just like Tyrus. What was their greatest merchandise? Slaves. And they traded off Israelites to Edom. Okay, so we proved that, okay? Okay, so let's go back to Ezekiel 28. Let's go back to Ezekiel 28. I still want to get to my quantum computer point. Now it says, okay, I'm sorry, let's go back to the article. Okay, now it says, Tyrus was a mart of nations. We just proved that through Isaiah 23:3, a great merchant place, right? It says a century of trade by land as well as by sea. Okay, so not only did they trade on the island, but by sea. Okay, see the striking picture of the variety and instinct of Tyrian commerce in Ezekiel 27. Hence her relations with the Hebrews, as with their neighbors generally, were peaceful. The Tyrians were also celebrated for skill in artistic work. Hiram, king of Tyre, sent Tyrian workmen to build a palace for David, but they were peaceful then, but not later in the future. Okay, it says, yeah, they were peaceful with David because he laid eyes down, and Solomon. Solomon, what means peace, right? Again, the Tyrians were also celebrated for skill in artistic work. Hiram, king of Tyre, sent Tyrian workmen to build a palace for David. That was the point I said earlier in the show. A formal treaty was concluded between Hiram and Solomon. Okay, Tyrian builders prepared timber and stones for the temple. Okay, yeah, and that's where you go into the Phoenician army, because the Phoenicians were right there, and they were sent over to the land. Another term for America back then, where it was in the land of Canaan, the land where no mount dwelt. And that's where King Solomon was sent his Phoenician army over there to gain what? Spices, minerals, food, gold, the golden wedge of Ophir. Ophir, like Apostle always broke down in that video, the Ophir represented the landmass, which was the America today, or the North Americas. Okay, and that's how our people knew, the Native Americans, Gad, or really the nation of Israel, knew that when they left, I believe, what was his name? The Assyrian king from oppression, Belshazzar, not Belshazzar, I forgot his name. I always remember it, I forgot his name. But they fled his persecution to go to, they knew where to go based on King Solomon's navy route. I think Eleazar or Belshazzar, Salaki, I forget. All right, so it says the Tyrians were also celebrated for skill. We already read that. Tyrian builders, we already read that. It says Tyrian artists designed the cast the chief ornaments and vessels of metal belonging to it. All right. Now here it goes. It says because they delivered up entire populations to Edom. The charge is similar to that brought against the Philistines. Amos 1:6. The Tyrians, however, are not accused of taking captives, but only of delivering them to others, of acting as agents for those who actually took them. For Tyrians taking part in the trade of slaves. And see on Joel 3:6, where I mentioned Joel 3 before, right? Sold for muskets, guns, and wine, like the scriptures say. That happened to our people today, right? Which proves that it's the same spirit. What exile companies are alluded to does not appear. They need not necessarily have consisted of Israelites. The reference may be as well to gangs of slaves procured with violence from other nations. So they weren't really responsible for the roundup, or violently taking them down, but they were responsible for trading them and delivering them off to other nations for slaves. And one of the captives were Israelites. Now let me read this other part real quick. This says the curse on Tyrus. It says the brotherly covenant. The covenant of brethren, margin, was the league made between Hiram and David, and afterwards between Hiram and Solomon. 2 Timothy 5:11, 1 Kings 5:1, 1 Kings 5:12. It says this ancient covenant was forgotten in Phoenicia's mercantile computity, and Tyre was attempted to sell Hebrew captives to Greeks and Idumeans. Okay, it says it right there. It says, and that was at a later time, right? It says Isaiah 23, which I just read, and Ezekiel 26. It says Amos 1:9, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus. This prediction is probably to be understood of the destruction of Tyre by Nebuchadnezzar, as foretold by Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, right? They delivered up slaves to Edom. Without doubt, the Edomites used the Jewish captives, which are Israelites, with great barbarity, as delivering of these captives up to them is also assigned as a principal reason of the punishment of Tyrus, as it was a punishment of Damascus, right? Salak, hold up. Stupid, I'm messing up my music, my background music. Hold up. Almost done with the reading. Just want to get through this article. It's locked. Let me go back to my... All right, and let's go back to the article again. So again, you know what it say? It said, with a doubt, the Edomites used what? Jewish captive Israelites with great barbarity, treating them like just like America did with our people, right? Castrated them, gator bait, the Willie Lynch letter sent from the islands to the Americas, how they treat slaves, so on and so forth, man. You know, castrating our men, buck breaking, you already know. Okay. Oh, I just learned, you know, I didn't know the term mother, I'll say mother effer goes back to Israelite boys or slaves having sex with boys having sex with their mothers, man, being forced by the slave masters. Okay, that's where the term mother effer comes from. You see, these demons, these devils got to pay. So anyway, they dealt with them in barbarity, just like Esau today, the so-called white man today in America. And it says, and remember not the brotherly covenant. Where does that brotherly covenant go to? In Amos 1 and 6, the brotherly covenant goes back to King Solomon and King David. It says that strictly in friendship between David and Hiram, king of Tyre, and afterward continued by Solomon, Hiram giving Solomon the title of my brother, as we read in 1 Kings 9 and 13. Let's see what Amos 1 and 6 says real quick. Okay, let's see what that says real quick. Let me see. I'll start from 3. It says, thus said the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have threshed Gilead with threshing instruments of iron. But I will send a fire unto the house of Hazael, which shall devour the palaces of Ben-Hadad. I will break also the bar of Damascus, and cut off the inhabitant from the plain of Avon, and him that holdeth the scepter from the house of Edom, the nation of Edom, and the people of Syria shall go into captivity unto Kir, said the Lord. Verse 6, thus said the Lord, the point for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. But I will send a fire on the wall of Gaza, which shall devour the palaces thereof, and I will cut off inhabitant from Ashdod, and him that holdeth the scepter from Ashkelon, and I will turn mine hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, saith the Lord. Thus said the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remember not the brotherly covenant. Okay, but I will send a fire on the wall of Tyrus, which shall devour the palaces thereof. All right, so just like how the Lord destroyed Tyrus in a way, well, excuse me, Tyrus is supposed to represent America overall, because they didn't remember not the brotherly covenant, which goes back to King David and Solomon. But furthermore, in general, you know, holy laws of the Lord, you know, which Esau, being our wicked fraternal brother, broke the brotherly covenant, man. Just like it says in Obadiah, he overdid the affliction. I'm not saying it verbatim, okay? Now let's go back to Ezekiel, because I'm done with the article. All right, let's go back to Ezekiel. and finish off. And I want to get to that God point because that's heavy too. That's a real super heavy one. And you really understand when you look at that video, quantum computing. Now, okay, now again, verse 2 says, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus said the Lord of power, because thine heart is lifted up, and that has said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, right? It was an island, yet thou art a man and not a God, and really represents the whole world. You know, America sits in the midst of the seas, which represent the people, and not a God. Though thou set thine heart as a heart of the Most High, behold, thou art wise, and in Daniel there is no secret that they can hide from thee. Now let's go to that point. Now the point is thou art wise and in Daniel, because overall, and the perfection is what the fourth industrial revolution, which goes back to what Daniel's 12 when it says that knowledge shall increase. You don't get to the point of the fourth industrial revolution, which you are now, which the cap of that is the MOTB, and all the technology you see around you without knowledge being increased. Okay. And how is there no secret they can't find? Is because they're through their technology, right? So, but one of my examples I like to use is the super quantum computers. Okay. The let me see, it's called quantum supremacy through AI. Okay, I should have said it that way. Quantum supremacy through artificial intelligence, which deals with, I got notes here, probability, and really basically a supercomputer. Okay, and the supercomputer, what is basically doing probability and math and calculations, right? They believe through the supercomputer, it's basically quantum supremacy. A quantum computer is, you're going to see in the video, please check it out, you're going to like it, is that they're 1,000 times more powerful than any supercomputer today, you know, and it way more powerful than any supercomputer today, and it actually any calculation that a quantum computer can figure out or solve, it would take 1,000 years or more for a supercomputer today, which is on another level. It would take 1,000 years for a supercomputer today to solve what a quantum supremacy can, and it's advancing. Right, so it says electrical. So, right, so that's how they wise it at Daniel, and this is a perfect example of how they're trying to be God, because what is the thing about a God? They live forever, right? And so their ultimate thing they feel like they can solve is aging. All right, so it says, I have here electrical. They have simulations through the computers. They accelerate drug discovery by accurately modeling chemical reactions. Again, accelerating drug discovery by accurately modeling chemical reactions, so they can solve certain diseases, you know, to not die. And the ultimate disease in a so-called white man's eye is aging. So he's trying to solve aging and live forever, just like that movie Elysium. All right. Okay, they beat disease. They had a supercomputers. They beat cancer. They can beat all these things, and they were living like for a few hundred years, man. I believe in the movie, right? Or long. It says, and they weren't aging. So powerful disease. So that they believe in Esau's mind, that's the most powerful disease. But we know the Most High controlled the lifespan of man, right? It went from almost a full day. The oldest man, I believe, was Methuselah, which is 969 years old in the book of Genesis. And then the Lord brought it down to 500 years, which is in the time of Noah. And Noah lived about 500-something years, I believe. Then the Lord brought it down to 120-something years, right? Moses lived 100 till 130, 100-something, 20 years. And then the Lord brought it down a fourth time to 10 years. All right, I think three score and 10 is 70, and if another 10 is full of strength or something like that. I forget how they phrase it. All right. So now average lifespan is 75 years or 70. Anything longer than that, you're on borrowed time. Okay. So, you know, you can't beat the Most High's program, how he programmed, like Apostle Paul brought all the time, the telomere in your body I forget what it is. It's a cell or part of your body with micro levels which control your lifespan. And you know, the only way you can elongate it is having a healthy diet, man, a healthy alkaline diet, you know. But anyway, you can't beat aging, all right, Esau, you delusional freak. All right, so anyway, through the quantum computer, it says it could solve patterns in behavior, knowing you better than you know yourselves. So this is Esau's delusion. I mean, that's what computer could so-called figure out, right? It says, it's artificial intelligence. You're going to see in the video, Elon Musk talks about certain programs like Alpha Zero and all that shit that learns, you can throw any game or equation at it and it figures that out, like puzzles or games, and it teaches itself how to play chess to beat all best chess players in the world and beat another program that was amazing itself, you know. So it's an AR, artificial intelligence. So it says it could be the best security, they believe, online. It could be the best, it could make the stock market go to another level. They believe they can remodel planes to fly at supersonic flight to transfer people around the world. They believe they can solve the black hole theory, what's in the black hole. It says they can model climate change for the next 10,000 years. Okay. And those are my notes on quantum supremacy, or quantum computer, which is AI, which is really goes into the fourth industrial revolution, you know, but which they're not going to achieve. All right. So let's finish up Ezekiel 28. And again, please watch that video, which I'm going to post in the description. It's pretty heavy, and it's a joke. You saw the joke. Now, to go on, it reads verse 3, Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can't hide from thee. And, you know, that's one example I just used. There's many others. It says, with thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. You know, starting with Meir El-Shambauer, which is the forefathers of the Rothschilds. You know, they conspired a plan to really own money and own and monitor lending. You know, own lending to countries, right? Because what did he say? Give me controls over a nation's money, I care not who makes their laws, which is what a devil would do. He controls people by bribery because he can, you know, everybody got a price, and no matter what you do, he can buy people out and own countries by way of banks, and ultimately putting people into debt by a loan and usury, okay, by interest. And that's what he's done. You know, that's how the Most High gave these demons power, man, through loaning and interest and owning money. So that's by their great traffic. We're about to read it. So it says, with thy wisdom and with, we read that. It said, by thy great wisdom, but by thy traffic, which is the Federal Reserve note, and what they've done through the transatlantic slave trade, and Meir El-Shambauer coming up with the whole banking scheme. It says how, which is to own people by way of debt, countries and continents and people. That has increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. So these demons, these elite banking families, which is the devil of the Bible, they believe they're God because of how much power they have. It's worth, people go back and forth, but I first read that the elite's worth was over 200 years ago was 500 trillion. Okay, so it's not about money with them. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, because thou hast set thine heart as a heart of the Most High. Behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. And what is that? Just like how it talks about the Lord is going to destroy Tyrus by fire, which represents America, the Lord is going to make one of those swords, the terrible of the nations, the strangers of the other nations. He's going to make them draw their swords against America, all right, against Tyrus, okay? And what's that talk about? The nuclear sword, okay? The flying fiery serpent, okay? Which is all the nations to talk about right now. We are the #1 nation, which is which is more powerful than America, which is Russia. Talking about Satan 1 and 2, the Satan 2 missile. Putin talking about how one missile going to wipe out, or 2 missiles going to wipe out a whole East Coast, and 4 can destroy the whole country. We in the time of prophecy, man. The Bible talked about this. So it says, or the Most High talked about this through the prophecies we're reading now on Tyrus, which is America. So it says, They shall bring thee down to the pit, okay, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst in the seas. Wilt thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am God? But thou shalt be a man and no God in the hand of him that slayeth thee. Thou shalt die in the death of the uncircumcised by the hand of the strangers, for I have spoken it, said the Lord power. Yeah, so no matter what, man, you damn elites, you banking families, you're just a damn basis of pathetic man. You're the lowest piece of entity in the whole universe, man. And that's what shows the Lord's mercy, that he gave the demonic wicked ass, the lowest form of existence, rulership over the planet Earth, and more power than any nation before him, right? But to make an example of your wicked asses, man. And you're gonna die like the shit you are, and you're gonna die like the uncircumcised nations, like the heathens, man, but worse. You're gonna go into slavery, man. So it says, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord power, thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. Thy sardius, the topaz, and the diamond, and the beryl, and the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and the gold, and the workmanship of the tabrets of the end of the pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou was created. All right, yeah, because remember, King Hiram did business with King David and built one of their temples. Right, he shipped workmen or craftsmen from Tyrus. So they were known for their that was a place to go to get the stuff, man, you know, to get the material to build whatever you want to build for your kingdom. That was a place. It was a great supermarket of the ancient world, you know. It says, thou art ain't America the great supermarket or the great market of the whole world today, right? Thou art anointed, the cherub that covereth, and I have set thee, so thou was upon the holy mountain of the Most High. Thou was walked up and down in the midst of stones of fire. Thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created till iniquity was found in thee. By the multitude of thy merchandise, right, they have filled in the midst of thee with violence, and they have sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as a profane out of the mountain of the Most High, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. And yeah, remember we read that they forgot the brotherly covenant that they made with King David, they made with King Solomon, right? And that they handed over the nation of Israel over to Edom, and they brutally, barbarically dealt with Israel, man. Just like how Esau, the so-called today, brutally and barbarically dealt with the nation of Israel today, you so-called blacks, not to the Native Americans, through slavery. Again, Tyrus' greatest form of business or traffic was slavery, just like America. And they shipped them all over the world, you know, in ships, just like Tyrus did. So it says, again, thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. That has corrupted thy wisdom by reason of the brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, and they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thy iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore I will bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. Yeah, that's right. Talking about what? The destruction of America, destruction of Tyre, right? Because he said, I'm going to bring forth a fire out of the midst of thee, means he's going to put in the mind of these scientists, right, to build their own destruction by way of a nuclear missile. That missile was created for your destruction, Esau, and by fire. And all the whole world's going to see. It says, and they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. That should be a terror, and never shall that be any more. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Zidon, and prophesy against it, and say, Thus saith the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O Zidon, and I will be glorified in the midst of thee, and they shall know that I am the Lord, when I shall have exalted judgments in her, and shall be sanctified in her. For I will send into her pestilence and blood unto her streets, and the wounded shall be judged in the midst of her by the sword upon every side. And they shall know that I am the Lord. And there shall be no more pricking briar unto the house of Israel, nor any grieving horn of all that are round about them that despise them, and they shall know that I am Lord power. Meaning that no more nations is going to be messing with us. No more thorn in our side. Thus said the Lord power, when I shall have gathered the house of Israel from the people among whom they are scattered, right? Meaning we were scattered, which is part of the curses the Most High put on us to be scattered amongst all the other nations. He's going to gather them and shall be sanctified in them in the sight of the heathen. Okay? So the Lord's going to sanctify us, which sanctify means to what? To make holy and to separate. When you're made holy, that means you're separated from the defiled, which the defiled are the other nations. Okay? So it says, then shall they dwell in their land that I have given to my servant Jacob. And they that dwell safely therein, and shall build the houses, plant vineyards, yea, they shall dwell with confidence when I have executed judgment upon all those that despise them round about them, and they shall know that I am the Lord their power. Let me finish off with Revelation 18, okay, because it links up right with Ezekiel 28, what we're talking about. Revelation 18, in 1 it says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having the great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and cage of every unclean and hateful bird. The point I want to get to is verse 7, right? Because it proves Ezekiel 28, Revelation 18, verse 7. So Babylon represents what? America, all right? And it is of a hateful bird and foul spirits, because look at this place now. Look at this whole Roe versus Wade thing. Look at these freaks, these women that are trying to fight to keep abortion, so they can keep being promiscuous demons and keep killing babies inside them, or really spirits, like it's something you want to give back at Walmart. You know, this is the deranged mindset of the people today, man. Okay, you know, transgenderism, pedophilia. There was a parade I read, I think brother posted, where naked men were walking around with little kids. You know, somewhere, I forget where. You know, so this place is foul, man. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, right? And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Yeah, because how did they see, going back to Marash and Bayer, they had to do business. The only way you can do business with this damn bitch America is that you had to sell out. Okay, and for you to sell out, you had to buy into their philosophies, which is their false philosophy of freedom, which is the wicked ass democracy, which is the wine and the fornication that destroyed the nations. But in doing so, you would have to put a puppet leader in there. You know, you would have to buy them out. Okay, so they did great business with them. They became rich, the leaders of the sellout leaders of their nations. But overall, their society became messed up. You know. It says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, and who's the Most High's people? The nation of Israel. That's not talking about us being coming out and doing right, which is over. It is. It's really talking about us getting beat up in them chariots, right? Because ultimately, what we do in this truth, to do the work of the Lord, pray and fast and break down these prophecies, is ultimately going to deliver us to be delivered up in them chariots, man, when the Lord Yahushua come back. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, the nation of Israel, the elect, that ye be not partakers of her sins. Because what are the sinners going to partake in? Destruction, right? So we got to do this work to not partake in this destruction. And that ye receive not of her plagues. The plague is destruction ultimately, right? And it says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities, right? Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, and in the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment. See, that was the point I wanted to get. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment. And so how did they live? How did they glorify themselves? How did they live so deliciously? By what? By the blood, sweat, and tears of the nation of Israel. Right? They glorify themselves, saying, you know, I am God. You know, I sit in the seat of God. You know, they whitewashed over our images. They put the Lord, committed blasphemy, put him as an Edomite. They put the Lord with dogs, long stringy hair. You know, hey, you know, okay? So on and so forth. It says, and they live deliciously doing that. Why? Because they didn't pay a slave a dime, okay? And they were making 1,000% profit. Again, making a billion something dollars back then, you know, off the slave trade, man. You know, it says, off the blood of why? Off the blood of the nation of Israel. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. And we right there. You see this famine being created, being planned around you. You got tens of millions of chickens dying, cattle dying, all these mysterious farms or factory with food and them being caught on fire, gas rising, inflation rising. You know, gas deals with the logistic truck companies delivering food to the supermarkets, man. And they only have 3-day food supply. So this place is finished, man. So death, mourning, and famine, right? And be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord, the Most High, who judgeth her. The kings of the earth who have committed fornication live deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, the great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come, and thy merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more, which proves that America is Tyrus. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen and purple. Didn't we just read that Tyrus was great in that too, with certain stones and mineral stones and precious stones and all that kind of stuff? It's saying it here in verse 12. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk, scarlet, and all thine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble, as cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense, wine and oil and fine flour, and wheat, the beast and the sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. You see? And that's what Tyrus was involved in. They were involved with sending Phoenician army and getting land from this place called Canaan, which is today America, precious stones and ivory and animals and all this stuff, bringing back to King Solomon, man. All right, so they're synonymous, right? And cinnamon, I already read that. The souls of men, what? The souls of Israelite men, and the fruits that they sold, lusted after, are departed from thee, and in all things which are dainty and godly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and sing, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster, you see, ships were in Tyre. We came here in ships, which was the first major global billion-dollar network slavery that made the elites rich. Every shipmaster and all the accompanying ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of a burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust in their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, the great city wherein they were made rich, all that had ships in the sea, by the sea, by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. All right, and desolate comes from the word isolate, which means alone. And the only way this place is going to be alone and be turned to powder, like we read in Ezekiel 28, is by nuclear power, man. Okay, nuclear fire. Okay, so much so there's going to be a lake of fire. Okay, and the Most High says, you come before my presence, I'll beat you like into powder. So the Most High, through his son, is going to be in the midst of the fire, man. Okay, so this place is out. Remember, the chariot's going to come here and do more damage. Who knows? A laser might be 10 times more powerful than any missile that's going to drop here, man. So ultimate destruction is coming to America, man. Ultimate destruction is coming to Tyrus, which is a great merchant city like a dawn to America, man. Okay, so with that, you know, I pray you were edified. You know, the prophecy of Tyrus in America, proven who they are, man, by way of slavery, number one, because we're both big in slavery, and business and traffic. Okay, and going into the fourth industrial revolution, which is ultimately the MOTB. All right, so with that, I pray you edified. Till the next time, say shalom. First of all, I'd like to say, Kal Halal, Yahweh Shemai Shai, Ba'Shem Kadash, the Wadi Yahweh for giving us Yahweh Shai, the blindness to the apostles and elders of GMS, the blindness to the seat elders of GMS, the bishops, and shalom to you brothers in this country and all over the world, prophesying in the true name of Yahweh Shemai Shai. Shalom.